Hey, thanks for joining the Snelling Forging the Future podcast. I'm your host, Bennett Richardson. Today I'm joined by Kevin Wormwood, General Manager at Electrical Concepts. Kevin oversees operations, hiring, and team development for a growing electrical contractor that's expanded from residential work into commercial and remodel projects. Kevin, thanks so much for joining the call today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited about it. Looking forward to talking about just electrical concepts and people development and just some business strategy. So thanks for having me on.
Terrific. I gave a quick introduction there. Do you want to go into some more detail about electrical concepts, where y'all have been, where you've been?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. One, when you think about electrical concepts, it's a small I guess a smaller electrical contractor in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We started off in just residential work, and then we kind of branched out into residential and commercial, and then got into some remodel. And so we do commercial and residential remodel, of course, new construction, and now we do some industrial too. And we've even branched off into some other things: EV chargers, generators, all different kinds of things. My background's a little bit more unique. I've been in sports management, multi-unit retail, big box retail, and now overseeing an electrical contractor. So yeah, kind of, but
Yeah, that is interesting that you came into electrical concepts from like outside the trades and you stepped into a GM role pretty quickly, right? What was that transition like?
yeah, I think, for me, it was kind of twofold. Obviously, it's going to sound weird, right? If you think about my background and maybe some of the successes I've been fortunate enough to have and people I've worked with, but also you come into a trade where these guys are skilled, man. They're sharp. These guys and gals know what they're doing, and it's super technical, right? For somebody like me, I don't really understand the inner workings of how the lights work and all that stuff, right? I mean, I get, hey, we flip the switch on and there's power, right? The lights come on, but I can't tell you specific code and all that stuff. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's kind of interesting for me to come in and deal with that. And that was intimidating to a certain extent, but really where I focus is higher level, right? So I think for me coming in from outside of the industry, it allows me to understand some of the day-to-day stuff that the guys and gals are dealing with in the field, but it also allows me to stay at that higher level and really move us forward. I would bet if I had a lot of industry experience, there might be some nuance where I feel like I have to get more involved in the particular A, B to C, right? Because I don't have that technical background, I'm kind of like, hey, Bennett, you're the subject matter expert out in the field. You tell me what you need as the project manager, or, you're out here being the supervisor on this project. Like, I just want to remove your roadblocks, right? I'm not trying to look at it from my lens and saying, this is how I want you to do it. I just want the customer happy. I want it done efficiently and effectively, and I want everybody to leave the project safe, right? So I kind of look at it maybe a little differently
Yeah.
because I don't have that industry experience. So I think that helps.
No, that's I think that's fantastic because you're certainly not micromanaging, and you can put a lot of faith into your employees, and I bet it's appreciated amongst the staff.
Yeah, I think, we have a great balance. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that too. That's one of the things that I think was a little unique when I came in. The trades, and I guess I can only speak from, my 3 years experience really in the trades now at this point. But it has a history of really like a detached us them kind of office field, right? And when I came in, I thought it was kind of unique. I'm used to being in the field and, checking on projects and just interacting with people. So I really started doing that. It was a little strange at first. I think there was a lot of our veteran journeymen that were kind of not sure why the office guy, if you will, was coming out to the field to see what was going on.
Sure.
But after doing that a couple times and them understanding that really it was about, hey, I want to make sure that I'm removing any roadblocks that you're facing. I don't want to keep doing the same things over and over if you're having a pain point or it's causing issues. Like I want to really get to understand what are we doing in the office that's helping set you up for success, and what are the things that we're doing that are tripping you up that we can improve and move and do those things, right? Because they're done unconsciously. We're not actively trying to cause an issue, but we think, hey, this is what we'll do and it'll help them out, when really it may cause issues. So after doing that for a while, I think the guys really started to understand what the purpose was of that and why it was and how it helped.
No, that's fantastic, and I'm sure with that kind of barrier, office versus fields, those kinds of roadblocks could stay up for years if someone like yourself doesn't come in and is proactive about taking those down. So that's fantastic. Well, Kevin, I know that your company has grown from primarily residential work into commercial and remodel projects. What's driven that shift?
Yeah, a couple things. First and foremost, we have a pretty solid customer base. So just as our current customers kind of continue to grow their own businesses, and there was a little bit more demand there, that obviously helped. I think the other thing that really pushes us to even move now, and look at different legs of the business, if you will, is just the talent that we have. We've been able to bring some guys and gals that have a depth of talent. They're also intrigued by certain parts of the business, right? We get into some industrial work and things. So when you can kind of align what your customer needs with what your current workers have from a skill set perspective first and foremost, but then also there's a passion for guys and gals to grow, I think that kind of is a natural help. So that kind of really helped us shift from just residential work only. That's kind of where we started.
Right.
And that was really the skill set. And then as we continued to add people, and then their skills even expanded and they found some other passions, there was some commercial work there that we could align with. And some of our customers had a desire to do commercial work. So it was kind of a natural thing. It's been a little bit more intentional over the last few years as we've added talent, and we've really tried to figure out what motivates people in the field and what they're intrigued by and what they enjoy doing so we can keep them engaged, but then also allow them to expand their skill sets.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned about diversifying not just for the business stability, but to grow your people. You said that that was a pretty natural next step. Was it a big process to decide whether to pursue these new opportunities?
No, I mean, there was obviously a risk factor, right? I mean, we had to do some calculations on that. I think anytime, at least for me, I guess anytime I've tried to expand or change direction or shift a little bit, you always want to make sure you're not 6 miles wide and an inch deep. You want to try and stay to your core, make sure you're hitting where you really want to be. So there was that evaluation process. But again, it kind of sounds weird to say, but you simplify it back to we're an electrical contractor providing electrical work with skilled electricians, right? So as long as it kind of fits in those buckets, it's not much of a risk.
Yeah, I get you. Okay,
Yeah, it's not
cool.
like we're trying to venture off into doing lawn care or something on this. I
Right,
mean,
right.
we're trying to stay at our core. We want to be a very reliable, resourceful electrical contractor for, people in our area.
Absolutely. Okay, that's terrific. Well, with about 22 employees, I understand, a lot of repeat customers. What does hiring look like for you today and what's worked well?
Yeah, so when I started, one of the things we kind of really took hold of was, the direct referrals, right? A lot of times
Right.
in the trades, just like any other industry, the trades is not different here. You have people that work at other companies, right? They're in the trade to a certain extent, just like any other business. So when we have a need for talent or when we're thinking about expanding our talent pool, we communicate with our internal team first because those are the people that are living our core values, right? That are modeling our core values. So hopefully they're also around like-minded people, right? That's kind of the thought process there. The old adage, birds of the feather flock together is a little true in that sense. So, obviously it's great to start there. And then we do have to get some referrals, which is kind of crazy. Our owner has a tremendous network of other electrical contractors too. So sometimes we get lucky where they might have some talent that they're not utilizing or, whatever that we might be able to add on to. But most of our talent comes from direct referrals. We have used some ads, for some strategic positions, and that's helped a little bit. But field work is generally direct.
The referral. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that of other trades that it's very heavily referral based. That all makes sense. You mentioned that you have posted jobs before. Have there been pros and cons, areas where it helped and where it might have fallen short?
Yeah. One of the things we're looking for right now, we just had a change where we're going to add a new commercial electrical estimator. Yeah. So, we've kind of ran the gauntlet on how we're going to go about that. We've tried the referral process and, it's kind of a weird time right now. I think, people are set in where they're at. So we're trying to expand that way and add somebody. But, when you look at it from an ads perspective or a campaign, it's kind of a risk factor too. It's not cheap to add talent, but it's not cheap to not add talent, right? I mean, so
Yeah,
we're trying to weigh that healthy balance between what makes sense for us to pay to find the right person between that and the pain point of trying to find it on our own.
right. Yeah, I mean that's tough. That's something we ask clients a lot when things are stalling out a little bit. Is like, how much is it costing you to keep this position open? And it's in an attempt to move things forward, but sometimes it's also hey, is this position, is it costing you to have it vacant and that kind of thing? And that can be a hard thing for clients to, for employers to of any kind to assess.
Yes, it's tough too because there is a little bit of from there's a little bit of the fear factor, right? If I'm going to give you X amount, a decent chunk, anyways, let's say that I'm going to give you a decent chunk. There's still a risk of, hey, is this a cultural fit? Is this person going to be somebody that can come in and make an impact? Are they going
Mhm.
to set me back? Right. So I think I look at that from an executive level, and I think there's some other things besides the cost that people probably take into account. It's you start thinking about, hey, what's the cultural impact if I bring the wrong person in? How much does that set me back? Am I better to take that 3, 4, 5 months now instead of paying that 3, 4, 5 months later because I made the wrong hire, right? So I think there's a lot of balls in the air on that. I'm not saying any one of those are right or wrong or better or have more weight, but I think, just from the experience we're going through and what we're trying to weigh, and, I think we really do take it serious in trying to find the right person because they are making an impact not only with their customers but also with our employees on a daily basis, right? And you want to make sure that you're bringing somebody in that is living the values or at least receptive to living the values, right? And can model that behavior and treat people with dignity and respect internally and externally. So,
That's well said, and yeah, I think you put some nice wording there about how chaotic the hiring sector of every industry is, and how there's no perfect equation to make sure that you're getting the right person culturally and skill set wise. You can only do everything you can to use your resources, screen well, that kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's still a roll of the dice, but it's a worthy
100%.
investment a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we chatted about before, right, Kevin, was that there's been a renewed push towards the trades after years of like college first messaging.
Yeah.
What do you think schools and businesses still get wrong about presenting trade careers?
Yeah, I think, it's a welcome shift too. I think
Hmm.
we've put a lot of people, a lot of young kids in a tough spot where they feel like they have to go to college, or at least they had to, right? That's the only way I'm going to be something is if I go to college first. And I think now, we're really starting to help people understand that, first and foremost, the trades is an honorable profession. It's a worthwhile profession and you can make a solid, decent living, right? For years, I felt like there was probably this stigma between working in the trades, working in a shop or manufacturing, right? Those are taboo jobs. You want to have a nice office job or a suit and tie job, something like that. And I think now people are starting to understand that really those are honorable professions. You can make a great living. I know a lot of people, again, the 3 years I've been in the trades, I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people that have lifelong been in the trades, man, and they're doing really good for themselves. And they're not coming out of school, quote unquote, if you will, coming out of school with that big debt. You know,
Yeah,
all of our guys and gals go through the apprenticeship program here, and we, obviously offset a lot of that cost, but they're also learning why they're going through the schooling. So there is an initial cost, but we help offset some of that. And then at the same token, they're earning an income while they're going to school. So, they're coming out and finishing schooling and with minimal debt, if any.
that's a pretty attractive offer to the new generation because I know a lot that's a big topic of conversation is how expensive schooling is. Lots of people my age, I'm 26, are saddled with a good amount of debt and there's
Yeah.
pros and cons, benefits to
It
it.
kind of feeds into one of our pain points though too when you think about it. I mean,
What's
we've
that?
unfortunately done a disservice really to people in the trades where we kind of push this little gap where the younger talent isn't quite right in the spot yet to fill some of these roles. Like you think about the commercial estimator that I told you, there's some young talent out here that is really sharp. They're just not quite there yet. But unfortunately, the talent pool is also on the other side where a lot of the people in the trades are starting to retire and there's nobody to backfill those roles yet. So there's this weird little gap of trying to find somebody that can really step into the roles, that has the skill set and can be successful. Again, I think it's more active now where people are trying to do that. And we're trying to create that culture of helping kids understand that there's opportunities besides not just the trades either. I mean, I know that's what we're talking about, but there's other avenues besides just, hey, you have to go to college. That's the only way to be successful. So I think it's a conscious push, and I appreciate the fact that we're doing it. I think it's going to help us out long term. But
Absolutely. I think it's necessary, and
yeah,
sometimes I think of the discourse around what people have to do after high school as something that kind of shifts back and forth, and it went really heavy into that college first mentality, and now hopefully it'll balance out a little bit, and people will know that there's opportunities on either side, or you already referred to the fact that it's multifaceted. We're primarily discussing college versus the trade opportunity,
yeah.
but no, I think that was all very well said, Kevin. I appreciate your contributions to that discourse. My last question here is kind of a broad one, so take it as you will. you're taking on bigger projects and new customers. Is there anything you're especially excited about coming forward? Leadership gaps that you're looking to fill or anything really? Anything that you're wanting to chat about before we close out?
Yeah. One of the things that we're really excited about is as I've said, we have a nice talent pool, right, currently in house. So we're really trying to target, our existing customers, identify their gaps, but then also trying to ally them with the talent that we have in house already and see if we can get a parallel between people that we have in the field that are excited and doing a good job. Do they have a passion project? Do they have intrigue or interest in certain kind of, whether that be electrical design, industrial work, maybe it might be, right? We have somebody that's done a lot of commercial and they've done a little bit of industrial and they're passionate about it. Hey, can we find some more industrial projects with a current customer to get that person some more exposure and really, kind of keep moving them forward? At the same token, again, I think I've touched on this in the past, but with our network of other people in the trades, we're also able to work with some other electricians, which I know is kind of strange, but we do a great job of working with other electricians too and helping either on a project they might have where they just don't have quite enough talent, or the other way around. We have a current project that I'm thinking of that we're working on that's kind of more industrial. And one
Uh,
of the lead electricians on it's kind of branched out on his own, but we work right alongside with him. And that's so we can kind of mentor our crew as well, right? They have some skill set. He appreciates that. He's worked with them in the past, so he knows they're qualified, good electricians. But then he's also got those things that he's seen for 30 or 40 years, right? That are kind of lost in time. But
yeah.
now he can go back and say, "Hey, this is something, that's kind of crazy. Let me teach you this." So it's really cool to see that kind of stuff happen. As we look to the future, it's continuing to do that, but also recognizing some of the young talent we have and continuing to try and sharpen them, build them, and keep them passionate about what we're doing. And if we can do that, we win. It's weird, but they
Right.
win, we win. So yeah, those are the things that are exciting, man. We got a lot of different projects coming that I think give us the opportunity to do that. It's a great time. It's a weird time, but it's a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kevin, I got to say, I love your mentality and the way you approach all this. It sounds like you're striking a nice balance between working with these experienced professionals and allowing them to mentor the new generation. I think it's great. I really appreciate you joining the call today. If there was anything else you wanted to share, or maybe any social medias or websites that people could visit to learn more about electrical concepts.
Yeah, sure. People can always check us out, electricalconceptscr.com. They can come to our website, electricalconceptscr.com. We're not really branched out too much into social media yet. I hope to. That was our intent. Really, in 2025, we really wanted to try and target it, and maybe get into like some Twitter, some different things, whatever they're calling it now, X, whatever. We really wanted to get into that and push that a little bit, but we just didn't really get there.
If it's not a necessary component of your business,
That's It's funny that you say that, but that was really the avenue, right? We kind of looked at our strategic plan for 2025, and that was something we wanted to dabble into. And as we kind of started peeling back some layers and where we were at and some pinch points, it just didn't make sense for us to continue to try and push social media presence and kind of quote unquote advertising, if you will, or brand recognition. And then some people are going to look at that and be like, hey, you're missing the boat. And I get it. But we were just trying to stay focused in making sure that we still had a good foundation and core for where we were. Hopefully, we'll get into it some this year. So, jokingly, I say all we have right now is just our website still.
No, but I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna refreshing Instagram every day, just waiting for y'all to pop up.
Yeah, maybe soon, right? Maybe soon.
Yeah, you got this. And hey, the foundation. There's no doubt that that's the most important part, and that before social media should ever be a question, it should be about making sure that you've got a great service, which y'all do.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thanks so much for joining the call. We can go ahead and bring this one to a close, and I'll
Awesome.
be looking forward to hearing more about what y'all are doing over there.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Enjoyed the call, man. Thank you. It's great.
Alrighty, thanks, Kevin.
Thank
Bye.
you.